Okay, so yeah, so the main reason we are doing all this is make students sensible. Okay, so this session is done as a part of Education 4.0. So there are similarly 12, I think, different topics where we will do similar website webinar for each topic, and we expect you to take it from here and learn on your own. But if you still want, I think this session is good enough for you to learn things on your own and make a career in clinical research. Okay, but if you want to us to treat, you can enroll and then we will train you. So our
Absolutely.
goal is to give an overview of every area where PharmDisc can go, give you all the resources, etc., for you to learn, and so that you learn on yourself. But for some reason, if you want us to involve and train you deeply, we will enroll you for a module and we will train, and that will be for least possible cost, which will be nothing, let's say less than 1/10 of what others are charging, and we will definitely not give all false promises and all nonsense. Okay, so this is the module we are planning to take. So everything which we spoke will be taught in much more detail. Okay, and apart from that, we will also have guest lectures from CDM, PV, and medical writing. So this is the module. I will share it in the Telegram channel. If somebody is interested, we can enroll and start from August. Okay. So sure. So finally, I want to tell all of you that be sensible and share this positivity and the actual source of guidance with people. Okay. So don't let them lose hope or fall in wrong hands and get exploited. So finally, it is our program FarmD and it is our responsibility to do something for it. We cannot expect anybody else to come and do something for us. Okay. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Namaskaram all. So this is Pratik here. I'm like you guys, I'm PharmD graduate. I graduated in 2017. So currently I'm working as clinical research coordinator in NIMS Hospital, Hyderabad. As we have discussed in the morning, the important thing in clinical research is you should be interactive and you should be able to communicate, because everything is time related in clinical research. You need to arrange many things, you need to speak to many people for things to happen. Okay, so let's understand in this session, in this webinar, we are going to cover three things. One is knowledge. What are the concepts needed? As you asked, what are the preparations needed to get a job in clinical research or get a deeper understanding of how the field works? That we'll cover. And practice, how things are actually done in day-to-day activities or what a daily routine looks like. You'll get an idea, and what to do for a career. Okay. And I want you guys to be interactive. If you have anything, any doubts, you can ask in between also. It's absolutely fine. So, clinical research is an umbrella term. That means clinical research is a study of health and illness. It does not necessarily mean you need to give any treatment. It can also mean prevalence of particular disease, diagnosis aspect of particular disease, okay, testing of patient well-being. For example, we can test mental well-being of COVID-19 patients during this pandemic situation. So everything is clinical research. But coming to clinical trial, it's a specific aspect of clinical research. For example, we test drugs or devices for safety and efficacy in clinical trials. Okay, these are the only two major endpoints which we are concerned about. One is safety, and other thing is efficacy. So that is the difference between entire clinical research and clinical trials. So let us understand some basic terms which are used in clinical trials. So sponsor. Sponsor is nothing but a company like Pfizer is there, BMS is there, Cipla, GSK, etc., who initiates clinical trials, who manufactures drugs, does research is called sponsor. So contract research organization. Generally sponsors initiate clinical trial, but many times they give the contract to research organizations which conduct clinical trials. So those organizations are called contract research organizations, like IQVIA is there, ICON is there, etc. We'll look at them later. So site or hospital is a place where clinical trials are being conducted, and primary investigator is a doctor who does it. Subject is patient or person who participates in clinical trial. So we do not call them patients because not always we include patients. Many times in phase 1 studies, phase 2 studies, healthy individuals are also involved. So the persons who participate in clinical trials are generally referred to as subjects. So CRA or monitor is representative clinical research associate, is a representative of sponsor who works at sponsor. For example, he might work at Cipla or GSK company, who overviews working of clinical trials at sites, hospital, how they are ongoing, he overviews. So clinical research coordinator is a person who works under primary investigator. So primary investigator chooses his team, and CRC is responsible for smooth conduct of clinical trial within the hospital. Okay? So IRB or IRC is nothing but Institutional Ethics Committee. This ethics committee is formed by hospital, which includes different persons. We'll look at it later. So this ethics committee is responsible for patient well-being and conduct of, and it overviews safe ethical conduct of clinical trials. So before starting any clinical trial, primary investigator needs to take permission from this ethics committee. So CDSCO is Central Drug Standard Control Organization. It is a regulatory body in India, and DCGI is another regulatory body, the Drug Control General of India, who gives permissions to conduct clinical trials. CTRI is nothing but Clinical Trial Registry of India. So every trial needs to be registered in this site or registry. ICF is informed consent form, which subjects need to sign before entering into trial. So trial master file is nothing but generally it's just a file where all the trial related documents are stored in hospital. So are we clear up till now?
Yes, sir.
So let's
Yes, sir.
drug development and timeline. So it takes a lot of time to develop a product. For example, in molecular testing and everything, they might identify 10,000 compounds. Preclinical means animal toxicity studies might happen with 250 compounds, and clinical trials only 5 compounds or drugs might make it to clinical trials. So it has 6 plus 7 years, like 13 years will be gone there. And for regulatory process, another 1.5 years. So almost it takes 10 years. Before it used to take 15 years. Now it's taking around 8 to 10 years to a drug to come into market. So there are different phases of clinical trials, as you are aware of it already. So there are phase 0. So in phase 0 trial, so okay. In phase 0 trial, a drug is tested for its metabolism, only its metabolism. Like, is it being absorbed properly? Is it being distributed, metabolized, and excreted properly? So in phase 0, it is tested. Not always phase 0 is done. Sometimes it's done, and it usually involves healthy individuals. Okay. Phase 1 evaluates safety and determines safe dosage. In phase 1 studies, they see for safety, means they start with lower dose and they increase dose, and to see what is the safe dose and what are the side effects which are coming. And this is also mostly done on healthy individuals. Coming to phase 2, once the dosage is fixed, it is now phase 2 is done to test effectiveness. For example, if a diabetic drug is there, now they test the drug on diabetic patient to test its effectiveness and further evaluate safety. Coming to phase 3, they also compare this drug, our drug, with other drugs which are present in market and establish the efficacy over other drugs, and also they monitor side effects here. After phase 3, what happens is companies go for health authority applications where they will get approval to market into the market. So once it is approved, they approve with the condition that for certain amount of time they should submit safety data. That means side effect data, etc., etc. So that might be depending on that. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. So for that 4 or 5 years, they will be doing phase 4 studies. That means post-marketing surveillance. So in market, when patients are using these drugs, if they report any side effects, those are reported to health authorities like DCGI. So there are different types of studies which happen according to blinding. So there are 3 people who are involved who knows about what is being given. One is primary investigator, that is doctor and his team. Other one is patient, and next one is statistician who will be analyzing this data. So unblinded or open label means everyone knows what is being given to patient, including patient, doctor, and statistician. Single blinded means only the participant is unaware. That means only patient is unaware, doctor knows, and statistician also knows. Double blinded means participant and clinicians and data collections are unaware, and only statisticians knows. Triple blind means no one knows, statistician does not know, patient does not know, and doctor also does not know. Only company knows what is the drug it's being given. Okay. So let us see who gives permission to conduct clinical trials in India. So CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization, is a body which comes under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. So this issues permission to conduct clinical trials in India. So within CDSCO, there is an office called Drug Control General of India. So this office issues permissions to conduct. So it overviews all the clinical trials happening in India. Whatever related to clinical trials, they take care of. And once they give permission, so investigator or doctor who needs to conduct the trial, he needs to take permission from Institutional Ethics Committee. Okay. So these are important rules and regulations which all the stakeholders need to follow. So if you ask me what is the one book which I need to read to get deeper understanding, that would be the first one, New Drugs and Clinical Trials Rules 2019 by CDSCO. If you read it word to word, you will almost get 80% understanding of how clinical trials are done, almost 80 to 90%. So let's see how to download that document. And anything from now which I will be discussing, I'll also open that document and show you where the points are present. Okay, just type in Google clinical trials 2019 document. So the first link it will show. Generally, CDSCO website is like this: CDSCO. Simple. Open it. This is the CDSCO website. You can go to clinical trial section and download it, or just type in Google, you'll get. So in 2019, regulations have been updated. So this is the document. Don't get confused because first half is in Hindi, as Hindi is our national language. And next half from page number, as far as I remember, 145. Okay, from here it's in English. So it's almost 130 pages document. But if you read it word to word, I promise you, you do not require any coaching whatsoever. Anything you don't require, you can start off in clinical research. So that is the effectiveness of this document. So from basic things are there. So what is meant by academic clinical trials? What is an act? What is an adverse event? So everything is there here. What do you mean by clinical trial? So these all things are present. Okay. So let's continue with our presentation. As and when required, I'll open this document and show you where is the contents are present. Okay. Are you able to see this document, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, this is it. So here I told you that ethics committee, okay. So this is a pattern of how clinical trials are approved and conducted in India. Okay. So what is required is the box you are seeing in green box. Are you able to see that green box which appear right now? So this process is approval process. After the protocol is designed, sponsors approach IND for a new drug approval, DCGI. They approach DCGI and they submit all the data required in form called CT04 form. Okay. After that, DCGI will give approval. Then only sponsor could start clinical trial. Okay, so let us see how this CT04 form looks like and what are the requirements they need to submit to DCGI. So everything, as I told you, everything is present in this document. You need not go to any course or nothing like that. So this is the form CT04. So it contains name of applicants, nature and constitution. So clinical trial site, where are you going to conduct clinical trial? What is the phase of clinical trial, protocol number, fees, etc., etc. Okay, and also along with that, all these other documents are also required, like prescribing information and all the legal requirements. With this, they submit the form to DCGI. Okay, here. So within particular period of time, they give permission to conduct clinical trials. So now this sponsor goes to different sites or approaches different hospitals. For example, in our NIMS, they approach oncologists if they want to do oncology trial. Now they explain little bit details about this trial, what it is about. So to disclose all the details, now the investigators need to sign something called confidentiality agreement, stating that I will not disclose this information to anyone else, because clinical trial is also a competitive thing, because at the end their product is going to release. So once he signed this document, now they are going to inspect all the site and find out whether all the requirements are present, like a sufficient number of beds are there, sufficient number of staff, nurses, everything is present. That's called feasibility visit. Once that visit is done, so they tell the doctor that, okay, man, you can do this study. We are okay with it. Now this doctor, what he needs to do is, he needs to submit all the trial related documents to ethics committee in his hospital. So once he submits that to ethics committee will review that document. So let us see what is ethics committee is about. So this is regarding to ethics committees. Okay. So constitution of ethics committee. Let us see who are involved in ethics committee. So ethics committee shall have a minimum of 7 members from medical, non-medical, scientific, non-scientific areas, with at least 1 layperson, 1 woman member, 1 legal expert, means a lawyer, and 1 independent member from other related fields like social scientists, other ones. And ethics committee should have at least 50% of its members who are not affiliated to institute. For example, if NIMS is forming an ethics committee, 50% of its members, that means 4 or 5 of them should be from other institutes like Apollo, to avoid bias. Okay, and one of the member of ethics committee who is not affiliated with institute shall be chairperson. That means the chairperson of ethics committee should not be worker of this NIMS. He should be from other hospitals. So again, to avoid bias. Okay. So these are the requirement and these are the members. Like medical means a pharmacologist will be there and a normal doctor will be there, scientist will be there. Okay. And along with that, 1 layperson, 1 woman member, and 1 legal expert will be there. So these are the members of ethics committees. So this ethics committee reviews all the documents submitted by so and so doctor, and if it finds beneficial to the patient, it will give approval. So after approval, again company will come and they will do site initiation visit, something called site initiation visit. In site initiation visit, they will train all the staff who are involved in clinical trial. For example, I am CRC, clinical research coordinator. I am working in particular trial. I do not know nothing about it. So they will come, they will train us. So this study is about like this. These are the specific points we need to take care of, etc., etc. After that, site initiation visit and trainings are over. Now we are ready to take patients or subjects. Subject enrollments happen. Once the subject enrollments happen, treatments are given periodically to subjects, data is collected, and that's how clinical trial happens. So did you understand how it goes?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us see list of documents to be submitted to ethics committees. Okay. They submit protocol application. They just submit the application stating that this is so and so protocol. This is the study I want to do. Please review it and give us permission. Okay. Signed trial protocol, investigator brochure, patient informed consent sheet. Let us see how protocol looks like. Okay. again in that document. It's 213. So like this, I am showing this document because after this presentation is over, it becomes easy for you to go and refer, and also you will realize the importance of this document. Okay. So here in table 2, there is content of proposed protocol for conducting trial. So this is how any protocol in India would look like. Okay, these are the main contents which will be present in any protocol. Okay. Full title of clinical study, protocol, study number, protocol version will be there. What is the investigation new drug? Complete address of sponsor and or CRO will be there. Name of laboratory where it's presented, and some background and information. What is the preclinical experience? What are the different phases which has happened before? What is the study rationale, study objective? How the study is designed? For how many days you are going to do it? For how, what is the dosage of treatment? Subject inclusion eligibility, like inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. Okay, so what age group you are going to take, what are the conditions you are going to take, is it going to be diabetes, is it going to be healthy patients, not healthy patients, everything. Okay, so what is the study treatment here, details, what do you do when you get adverse events, so what are the risks, what are the benefits, so how you are going to monitor study, so what are case record form, we'll look at it later. So how do you manage investigator product? Investigator product means the drug which you're going to use, what is the storage requirements, etc., how the data is going to be analyzed. So these are all the parameters which are present in any protocol, which should be present in any protocol in India. Anything additional, it's up to the company to write it, but these are the bare minimums which should be there. Okay, got it? So this just tells what are the requirements, but let us see how a protocol might look. You can open up clinical trials gov, this website. This website you can open up, and you can type like any cancer, or you can type nivolumab, say cancer study, and search for it. A study of C. You can see this now. So study. So this is the details of the study, but protocol would also look something similar to it. Okay. So here is the study details. 72 participants. So this would be brief introduction about the study. So it is a phase 2 study, open label, targeting non-small cell lung cancer, and the treatment would be docetaxel and nivolumab. Okay. And there would be two arms. One is nivolumab plus docetaxel, other is nivolumab. And these are the dosage we are going to administer. These are the dosage in second arm. So what we are going to measure is progression-free survival and overall survival. So this is the inclusion and exclusion criteria, how a protocol would look like. So we are going to take men and women who are greater than 18 years age and less than 75 years of age, and subjects who are histologically, that means who are confirmed with that particular disease and who are EGFR positive. And these are some advanced terms. Let us look at this. So we need hemoglobin to be greater than 9, ANC should be greater than 1.5 or 1500, platelet should be greater than 80,000, serum bilirubin should be greater than 1.5 upper limit norm, like that. These are the requirements which are needed to get into clinical trials. Okay. Exclusion criteria. So exclusion criteria means if they have been treated with docetaxel previously, we do not need them. Okay. If they are treated with radiotherapy, we do not need them. If they have pericardial effusion or pleural effusion, we do not need them. So have undergone major surgery, like this. So a protocol would look like this. Okay. Are you getting it? Are you on the same page? Okay. Okay. So that's what a protocol look like. Okay. So investigator brochure is nothing but protocol plus all the information which has happened with the drug previously. Okay, what are the publications they are made previously, what are the PK/PD parameters. So protocol is like a working manual. By looking at the protocol, you will know how to do clinical trial. Nothing else will be there in that. So in investigator brochures, advanced topics will also be there, like what has happened with the drug previously, how did they develop it, what are the publications they made, what are the PK/PD parameter, what are the side effects which are patients are facing, like that. Different aspects will be there, and it would be more detailed. We can also see investigator brochure here in 220 page number. Don't wonder how did I get this number, all these numbers, because I just I read this document before, so I know. Investigator brochure is in 220. Okay. So this is investigator brochure. So you will get summary. So highlighting significant physical properties, chemical properties, pharmaceutical, toxicological. So there's a lot more detailing investigator brochure, because doctors are need that level of understanding to know. So pharmaceutical population, how they are formulated. So what are the species tested before? Animal non-clinical studies, how did they happen? And number of sex of animals, unit dose intervals, all the history of how did it happen. Before clinical studies have started, animal trials are done, right? So what is there in animal trial? What are the toxicologies toxicities seen in animals, safety and efficacy, marketing experience. So for example, if it's a phase 4 study, they'll also tell when did they come into market, what are the side effects they have found from market using general people using it, okay? And also prescribing information. So it's a lot more detailed here, investigator brochure, okay? So that's it, that's what it is about. So patient information sheet and informed consent form, I will see it later, okay? Translation certificate, for example, informed consent form is a document which patient needs to read. It contains all the information regarding the study, and patient will read it, patient or subject will read it. If he wants to enter into study, he needs to sign it. So, okay. So usually this document is available in 2 or 3 versions. That means 2 or 3 languages. So for that, people called language experts will translate that document. For example, if you wanted to get translated into Hindi, one person will translate it into Hindi, and another expert who knows both Hindi and English, he will see and he will back translate it into English. So that is called back translation form. Why it's done is, once you transfer it into Hindi, you do not know what it means what its meaning is in English again. So if another person translated it in English and they compare original English document and back translated English document, if there are no much differences, that means that Hindi version is also accurate, because from this Hindi version only back translated English version has been done, okay? So that document, case report forms are there, current CVs, insurance policies. For example, if something happens like serious adverse events occur and they need to patient died or serious something permanent disability happen, so sponsor need to pay certain amount to that patient. So what they do is they take insurance policy, just like insurance for your car. They take insurance policy for the entire clinical trial. Now the insurance provider is going to provide that money, not the company. Okay. So that insurance policy copy. So these are all the documents the PI needs to submit to EC. And investigator agreement with sponsor. There will be agreement copy. That agreement copy he needs to give, and indemnity from sponsor. Indemnity means sponsor taking the responsibility that I am responsible for patient well-being as well during conducting this trial. And financial aspects, what are the budgets you are giving to that hospital, investigator undertaking, DCJ approvals, import license for test drug if it's coming from other country, and CTRA registration number. As I told you, all the trials need to be registered in CTRA, Clinical Trial Registry of India. There's a website for it. And GCP, good clinical trial practice training of all the individuals. So these are the essential documents PI needs to, primary investigator needs to submit to ethics committee. After what they do is they conduct a meeting, they decide what are the risks and benefits of this study. If benefits are more than risks, they'll give approval. Okay. So once they give approval, let us understand how clinical trial actually happens in a site. Okay. So now you have protocol. Now your doctor reads protocol or a coordinator reads protocol. Now they are looking for subjects, potential subjects who will benefit from this study. So they will identify such subjects or patients, and they will explain A's and B's of the study, details of the study. If the patients are interested, they will be given an informed consent form, which contains all the information regarding study. If the patient reads it and he is okay, then he will sign informed consent form in front of doctor, and doctor also signs it. Now he is enrolled into study. Later, we have seen the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Certain lab parameters are required, hemoglobin this much is required. So we do screening process. In screening, all the inclusion and exclusion criteria, depending lab tests and other tests are done. If the patient becomes eligible in this, passes this screening, then he will be initiated on treatment. It is called randomization because as you have seen in this example which I have shown you, there are two arms. Right side you might see the process of randomization. Once the patient information is entered into their sponsor's website, there are different websites for it. So they randomly assign treatments for patients. If it's a blinded study, even the doctors don't know what is the treatment. So they randomly say that give the drug A to this person, give the drug B to this person. We do not know what that drug is. That computer generates automatically. So that's called randomization. We initiate treatment and we continue treatment until what protocol says. In some protocol, we continue until serious adverse events occur. In some protocols, we continue until disease is progressed. For example, if we are doing study on cancer, if cancer increases despite of using this drug, we stop. Or when the PI feels, primary investigator feels that this drug is not proper for this patient, he can stop. Or if the subject feels that I don't want to take this treatment, he can stop it at any point of time. Okay? Otherwise, the treatment is continued. So, and treatment it has a particular time frame. For example, in protocol, it would be for 1 year, 2 years. After that 1 year, if he successfully completes it, then it would be a follow-up period for another 6 months, how patient is doing, like that. Are we clear up till now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So are you getting an idea how things are done in trial? Really?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear.
Okay. So there are many things we do on day-to-day basis. So there are many things we do in a clinical trial area day to day. So, but there are key aspects, which are main aspects. Let us discuss them. One is subject identification. We have discussed it. So which are marked in bold, we will discuss it in later slides. So informed consent process, treatment administration, AEs, serious adverse event, what happens, what should we do when serious adverse events happen, CRF, case report form entry or data entry. So investigator product management, study logs, monitoring and inspections. So PharmDs have an advantage of clinical exposure, definitely, because while you're working on CRC or a CRA, you will know what the treatment parts are. For example, if you're working as CRC, in treatment administration, you will have added advantage because you will not administer, nurse or doctor would administer it, but you can, in protocols, the treatment is very specific. For example, if they say 300 mg per kg, only that much you should give. If they say only for 30 minutes, you should only administer for 30 minutes. That thing you can overview and make sure that it is going correctly. If that does not happen, that is called as protocol deviations, and we need to report that protocol deviations to EC and health authorities again. So that will become a problem. And also, you know, all the, from PharmD beginning, you are seeing adverse events, serious adverse events. You can identify them, and you know how to manage a drug, what are the storage conditions, etc., etc. So PharmD always becomes an advantage in clinical research. So there are different study logs which we need to fill from time to time. For example, temperature, let us see investigator product management. If a drug arrives at your site, from there, that might be injections. So the protocol says that it should be stored between 2 to 8 degrees. So daily there will be a thermometer which will be provided to you, which records the temperature of refrigerator. So you daily need to see the thermometer and fill that in temperature log. So if you want to see the templates, this is the site. You can take screenshot of it. Global Health Trials. So all the templates of study logs and documents are present in this site. Okay. So I'm just opening it. So in this website, you will find templates of all the documents which are used in clinical trials. So you will get to know how it looks. So we want to know temperature log, right? See, there it is, temperature log. Just download it, open it, and open it. That's it. Download and open. So this is how temperature log looks like. Are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
So you will write
Yes, sir.
Date, time, what is the minimum temperature. So in the thermometer, it will show what is the minimum temperature recorded on that day, what is the maximum temperature recorded, and what is the current temperature recorded. So you will write minimum temperature, maximum temperature, and sign. And you like that you will do daily. So like that there are specific logs. For example, you have screened a patient, you have identified a patient. So there will be subject screening log screening log. So you go to that master file, open that log, and you need to fill it, screening log. Okay, what was the gender, what date of birth, date of subject identified, is the subject eligible? If ineligible, specify the reason, and PI needs to sign it. Okay, this is how screening log looks like. And what else? Okay, that's all for now. We will look at other logs later. But this is how documents looks like in clinical trials. Okay. So, informed consent process means, so informed consent process is patient voluntarily giving his agreement that he wants to continue in this trial. So there are certain conditions that informed consent form contains. First part is called patient information sheet. So that is a single form, but if first part of it is called patient information sheet, it contains all the information regarding the trial. And next sheet is signing part of it. Okay, let us see how it looks first. Again in that document, where is it? Where it is? Page number 210. Page number 210. So this is how informed consent, any informed consent in any clinical trial would look like. Okay. So these are the requirements. This is not a template, sorry. These are the requirement of clinical trial. So in clinical trial, freely given informed consent should be there, and obtained using. So let us see the template. Okay, this is the template, actual template. Okay. So it contains, first is statement that a study involves research and explanation for the purpose of this research. The informed consent form should say that this is a research study, we are doing the research study, and what is the expected duration of participation, description of procedures to be followed, like what are the blood tests we are going to do, what are the scannings we are going to do, what are the treatments we are going to give, and what are the foreseeable risks, what are the risks, what are the adverse events you are going to get during this study. Because in research study we are doing it to find out safety and efficacy, and obviously there will be adverse events. So you need to tell what are the adverse events or discomforts due to procedures which are happening there. Okay, and later there will be description of any benefits or subject or expected from research, disclosure of specific alternative products, and so on and so forth. Like what are the financial compensations which would be given by government if something happens, and what are the responsibilities of subjects. That means you need to come on this day, this is the schedules of the trial, like that it will be there. Statement that participation is voluntary, this is most important. There will be statement that this study participation is completely voluntary, it depends on you. If you want to join, you can join, otherwise it's up to you. Like that there will be a statement. Okay, and dosages, etc., would be there anyhow. So additional statement could be additional costs to the subject, like what would be the travel cost to you, are we giving it or are we not giving it, like that, approximate number of subjects in the study. So these are all are the information which are being given to subjects before getting them into study. They will read this information. So this is called patient information sheet within informed consent form. So actual consent form is here, format of informed consent form. So study title, study number, subject will, if he is okay with it, subject will write all these details. He will write his initials, name, date of birth, qualification. Annual income is important. Let us see why it is important later. And name of address of the nominee. For example, something happens to the patient. If the compensation who should receive it, like that. So these are the mandatory points. So I confirm that I have read and understood the information in dated so and so sheet, but that means this sheet, and he will sign. I understand that my participation in the study is voluntary, and he will sign. Like that, the different point. I understand the sponsor of the clinical trial and are responsible for my health, and he will sign. Like I agree that not to restrict use of the data. For example, any clinical trial would generate data regarding that patient, so the sponsor can use that. He will sign it. Okay, and this part is study signature. He will write his signature and sign. So let us see what is witness in later slides. Okay, did you understand what the informed consent form is? So you guys understood, right, what ICF looks like?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So what if the subject is okay? What if the subject is illiterate? He cannot read it. He cannot write. So in that case, something called impartial witness is required. Impartial witness means who is not related to the subject or patient and who is not related to the research team or doctor. So it could be patient from other department, wards or department. It could be someone from social care workers, like that. They can, what this impartial witness does is, what is his role is, he will he is a guarantee that every information, he should be literate, he should be able to read and understand that ICF, and he should be convey that information to that subject who is not educated or is unable to read. So he is the guarantee that everything what's written in informed consent form is told to the patient or subject. So he will also be present in informed consent process. Informed consent process means it happens in a room where PI explains everything to the patient, and if he is interested, he would sign. So during that informed consent process, impartial witness is required when the patient is uneducated or illiterate. He can read and write, but he is perfectly able to understand it. Okay, so there is something called vulnerable subjects. Vulnerable subjects means they are not in a position to take decisions for themselves, or they are not in a position to understand what is being told. Okay, in that case, for example, children are there, mentally handicapped people are there. In that condition, if they are the treatment is there which is going to benefit them, if they want to come into clinical trials, so legally acceptable representative signature is required. Legally acceptable representative means their parents, their guardians, or who is responsible for their well-being in the family. So their signature is required. And vulnerable subjects relatives who is signing on behalf of them, like children, their parents who are signing, they need not be educated, but they should be completely fine. That means they should be able to understand what is being told to them. Okay, so for that vulnerable subjects, if he is educated, LAR is educated, he can sign for vulnerable subject. If LAR is also not educated, then again impartial witness is required in this third case. So if the patient is vulnerable subject and his relative is also illiterate, then again impartial witness is required. Okay, then LAR will put his thumb impression, impartial witness will sign, and subject, if children, he can sign, he should also sign. Okay. So let us see what vulnerable subjects mean. So vulnerable subjects mean social, economical, or politically disadvantaged people, children, incapable of making voluntary informed consent, like their thinking is temporarily compromised, or conditions like schizophrenia is there, other things are there, Alzheimer's disease is there, etc., etc. Able to give consent, but those whose voluntariness or understanding is compromised, as I have told you, or unduly influenced by either expectations or benefits of fear, or in case of refusal, lead them to consent. That means if I am present, I am working on a particular doctor, or nurse is working at a particular doctor's, that nurse becomes the vulnerable subject because doctor can influence her to come or force her to come into trial, telling that if you don't come into trial, you can lose your job. So she is perfectly fine, but due to her profession, she has become vulnerable subject. In that case, also LAR is required. Okay. So who can be impartial witness? A literate person who can read and read the participant information sheet, who is not a relative, not a relative of participant in no way, or who is eligible is other patients in the ward who are not in the study, staff from social service department and other counselors, social workers. So legally acceptable representative is patients, family members, immediate family members who are responsible for their well-being, or guardians. Okay. So many times audio video consent is done. Audio video consent means whatever is being told to the patient or impartial witness or LAR is recorded through a camera. So the DCGI tells that it should be done for vulnerable subjects, new drugs, and biological drugs like vaccines, like COVID-19 treatment is trial is ongoing. For that, as it is a vaccine on biological substance, AV consent is must. And for patients like HIV, leprosy, who wants more privacy, then audio video consent is not done. Only audio recording is done. Okay. Did you understand what is the concept of informed consent process? Because it's very important.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's what it is about. So, as PharmDs, you might have heard about adverse events, right? Daily adverse events, serious adverse events. Okay. So, but serious adverse event in clinical trial means any untoward medical occurrence during clinical trial resulting in these parameters, like any adverse event resulting in death, resulting in permanent disability, resulting in hospitalization of trial subject or prolongation of hospitalization, persistent of significant disability or incapacity, congenital abnormality or birth defect, or life-threatening events. If any adverse events leads to these 6 parameters, then it is called as serious adverse event. Okay. Other adverse events are just adverse events, untoward medical occurrences. And these adverse events are graded according to CTCAE grading. Like, let's see what it is. Just I'm showing it like this because many things are just present online. You just have to search and download it like this. CTCAE. Okay. CTCAE means common terminology criteria for adverse events. That's all. So there will be grades. Grade 1 means mild asymptomatic. Grade 2 means moderate. Grade 3 severe, life-threatening, death. That's all. So, for example, if the blood count becomes low, let's search for globin. See, for anemia. See, for anemia, if it is less than, it is less 10 to 15 means it is called grade 1. If it becomes below 8, it's called grade 2. If it is below 4, 8 to 4, it's called grade 3. And if it further deteriorates, it's called life-threatening or grade 4 events. And grade 5 is called death. So depending on this CTCAE term, depending on the parameters which it's mentioned, the grading is given. Okay. Grade 4, grade 5 is always serious. Okay. So once serious adverse event happen, there are certain procedures we need to follow. So once the SI occurs, we need to report to 3 people within 24 hours of its occurrence. One is in PI, that means primary investigator need to report that initial report, what is the SAE, to ethics. In case this is in case of death, within 24 hours, he need to report to ethics committee, he need to report to sponsor, he needs to report to Drug Control General of India. 3 people reports. After this report is being given, ethics committee gives its report. So its analysis after conducting a meeting and tells its analysis to Drug Control General of India. So that this has happened. Is it related to drug or is it not related to drug? Why did it happen? It will tell it. And if it is not related to drug, there is nothing. Just DCGI gives sponsor representative that there is nothing you need to do. If it is related to drug or due to medical negligence or due to anything, then sponsor or representative needs to pay within 30 days compensation to subject. Okay. So same happens with another if it's not death or other permanent disability or other injuries other than death, same thing happens. But here investigator needs to give another report. First he will submit initial report. After 14 days, once the patient is discharged and he's doing well, he will submit detailed report to DCGI, sponsor, head of institute, etc. And depending on it, again, DCGI will decide whether to give compensation or not. And it will order sponsor or company to give compensation or not. Same thing. So, injury, consideration of injury or death related to clinical trial. So, for example, to tell it is related to clinical trial or not, these things should happen. So, it should be due to adverse event or it is due to violation of approved protocol. So, for example, 300 mg should be given, doctor has given 600 mg. So that is protocol it has happened due to violation or failure of investigator product to provide intended therapeutic effect. In cancer, they are treating certain condition. It is promised that despite of different treatments available, he has come in this trial due to it will work better, but it did not work better and it leads to progression. Then also not providing required standard of care, medical negligence again, and adverse events due to concomitant medications, adverse events on child, any clinical trial procedures involved, any mistakes happening during clinical trials. So these all are considered to be related to clinical trials. If these happen, then the cause is called as related to clinical trials. Otherwise, it is not related to clinical trials. This is something called as compensation formula where it's calculated like B into F. B is base amount 8 lakhs. F is factor depending on age, like where is it? Compensation formula 234. So here is compensation formula. Again, same document here. Okay. Base amount, factor, risk factor. Risk factor is terminally ill means 5, 0.51 like that. So age, let us look at age factor. Base amount is fixed 8 lakhs into this by 99.37 is calculated. So age factor is this. For 17 years means factor is 22 to 27.5 like that. Like that, based on this factor, they calculate compensation and give it to the subject if he is alive or subject's voluntary if it's his dead. Okay. So case report form is just like your case sheets you will be writing daily in hospitals. Okay. So case report form, for example, a patient comes, he is enrolled, and today is his treatment. Before starting treatment, obviously we'll do all the laboratory tests required and we'll give him treatment. So there is a particular amount of data being generated, like what is his hemoglobin levels, what are the other biochemical parameters, what is his LDH levels, CRF levels, CRP levels, etc., etc. All these things are entered into case report form. Okay. Again, if you want to see case report form, you can see in this website we have given that. CRF. Okay, CRF template generic. So it's like that. You write all the details. This is for screening visit 1. After screening, what is the medical history of patient? What is general appearance, heart health, everything. Visit 2. So on a particular day or next month he has come. What are the vital signs? What are the treatment you are given? Like this. Are you getting it? How it looks like?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how CRF is there. But now most of the CRF is online. So there is a database just like your Google Forms which you are filling is, but it's little more advanced, that's all. Okay. While writing any document in clinical trials, you need to be careful about Alcoa principle. That is, this is from ICH GCP guidelines. So attributability. That means who is responsible for writing a trial. You have written information in a sheet, what has happened today, but you need to sign below it that you have written it on particular date. Legible, it should be legible legibility means at least you should be able to read it, what you have written it after some time. Okay. Contemporaneous means you should document as it is or happens. For example, patient has come at 9:30. He came first. After that, lab reports, laboratory investigations, and happen. After that, treatment. So in the same sequence, you should write the notes in his document. So, okay, it should be original. For example, you have recorded his blood pressure, and you should write in. If you write in a sticky or normal rough paper, that rough paper becomes original. Okay, where you write the first value, that becomes original. So you should always write in his notes, in his file. It should be accurate and it should be complete. Whatever you write, it should be complete. That means the story should be complete. If the patient has come, you have given it treatment, you should write patient has come on particular day, we have given him treatment, we have discharged him on this and this date without any side effects, he went home, like that. It should be complete. So as I have told you, ECRF is now entered online. Like most studies require patient visit data to be entered within 3 days. Okay, sorry. So it looks something like same like Google Forms. What are the sodium levels? What are the chloride levels on the day, electrolytes, like that. So there are many data which sponsors need. You will enter that data. So next aspect is monitoring visits and inspections. Monitoring visits are usually done by sponsor representative, like clinical research associate. He comes to site on time to time, like monthly, once in 2 months, and he will check how it's happening. All the documents which I have shown you, study logs which I have shown you, he will check that. Okay, and inspections are done by regulatory authorities like DCGI, Drug Controller General India, and FDA. If FDA trials are, American trials are done here, FDA will also come and check. And EC can also check, ethics committee can also check. If you are interested in what are they going to check, you just need to type in Google like DCGI inspection checklist. That's all. Inspection checklist. First one you will get here. That's all. So this is the inspection checklist. Just download it and open it and see. This is the checklist. These are all the things they are going to check. Okay. So this is a small screenshot from it. Like they'll see that, as I told you, all it is complete, legible, and source data is present. Where the subject received test as per protocol, so they will also determine safety and efficacy of particular drug and patient, and they will see how the records are maintained there for how many times. So this is just a small aspects what they are going to see, but that is more elaborate. So inspections findings are 2 categories. One is no findings, it's fine. And later, if there are any findings, they will be called as major violations. So major violations means any protocol violation related to patient enrollment, means they have enrolled non-eligible patients, or treatment, or ECR. These 3 categories are called as major violations. Any other things are called minor violations. After violations are found out, they will ask for CAPA. CAPA means corrective and preventive actions. What are you going to do to correct this? And what in the future you're going to do to prevent this. Okay, so this is what PI needs to submit to sponsor and regulatory authority like DCGI. Okay, so let us see which people are involved. Okay, we have seen that first the protocol is designed, next permissions are taken, next clinical trial is conducted. That clinical trial generates safety and efficacy data. What are the particular adverse events present? Efficacy data means, for example, if you are conducting a trial in cancer patients, how many years they are surviving without progression. That's called progression-free survival, overall survival. That is efficacy data. Okay, and that data is analyzed and published, and treatment is given. The drug comes into market. Okay, let us see who all are involved during each phase. Okay, so while study design, there is something called medical writing also, which is not present here. While study design and permission, study design, protocol designing, doctors will be involved. That is a higher level task. Designing a study, freshers won't be involved there. So medical writers will be involved there. While coming to permissions, there's a branch called regulatory affairs. Okay, regulatory affairs, taking permissions, applying for DCGI for starting trial. So these are all the verticals like regulatory affairs executive is there, associate, manager and head of the department. So once the permissions are taken, clinical trials are conducted, right? So during the clinical trials, conduct of clinical trials are called clinical research operations. So clinical research operations are two types, like people who are working in hospitals, they work there. So they are called clinical research coordinators. The promotion level would be senior clinical research coordinator, study coordinator, project manager, head of department. But if you are working from company side, there will be large growth opportunity there. First, you will be starting with clinical trial associate. The main jobs would be to review documents sitting at site, sitting at your office. But next level would be clinical research associate. What this CRS does is monthly or twice monthly, 2 times in a month, they would come to site, they would come to hospital, like our hospital, and they will ensure that everything is done according to protocol or rules and regulations. Okay, so they monitor what is being done. So that's the responsibility of CRA. CRA might monitor 2 or 3 trials at a time. Next is, this is the growth ladder of that particular post. Like after 2 years, 3 years, you'll become CRA. After 2 years, you'll become senior CRA. After 3 years, you'll become team lead. Like after 4 years, you'll become assistant project manager. See, like this ladder would take anywhere around 12, 13 years. Okay. So once the this clinical research coordinator is a staff of primary investigator. So primary investigator appoints this clinical research coordinator to conduct to overview trials at hospitals. So they will be working only in hospitals. They will be submitting data. They will be doing all this work. And once this clinical trial is being conducted, during this clinical trial is conducted, after it also there is data generated. Main thing is safety data and efficacy data. So I am entering data here, lab values, etc., into that software. So there are clinical data management guys. They are going to view this data and they are going to query me. That, for example, she's a breast cancer patient. I have entered gender as male. It doesn't make any sense. So they will query me that you have entered it as, please correct it. So the quality of data which is being generated is taken care of clinical data management. So what all our data we are entering at site, clinical data managers or associate data analysts sit at office and review all this data. Okay, that is the job clinical data management does. Okay, and another data which is being generated is called safety data, which is serious adverse events. Okay, that is taken care of pharmacovigilance guys. Okay, what do they guys do is they prepare reports, serious adverse event reports. What are reports happening at all the sites or all the hospitals in this trial, and they submit this report periodically to all the hospitals. For example, a patient has died in A hospital. They'll prepare a report regarding all the information, what is the compensation given or everything. They'll prepare a report and distribute to all the hospitals. Okay, this is the job of pharmacovigilance. After the data is generated, or the trial is completed, or during it also, data is being analyzed for how the patients are doing, what are the outcomes, what are the safety outcomes. So that is done by statistical analysis group. Okay, statistician 2, biostatistician. But this is a higher level job. Mostly they won't take any freshers. And after that, periodically also they will publish in between studies, and also after studies also they will publish. Here, medical writers will be involved, and regulatory affairs people will also be involved. Okay, so these are the growth opportunities or career opportunities in clinical research you would be having. So let's see, these are the top pharmaceutical companies in 2019, like Pfizer, Roche. You can take screenshot of it. Okay, Johnson, Sanofi, Merck. Nowadays, we all know what are leading things, right? So look at the budgets; they are in billions, like $53.7 billion. So there's a huge market out there for clinical research as well. So these are a top 10 CROs. CROs means people who take contract from major companies like these and conduct the research in hospitals. So these are called top 10 CROs. IQVIA is there, Cohance, Paraxel. All these are present. Many of them are present in Hyderabad. And this KCR is not present in India. CM is present, but is not present. But let's see evaluation of clinical trials. So in which disease areas they are happening. First is respiratory system, next is pain and anesthesia, third one is oncology, ophthalmology, hematology, like that. These are different clinical areas where majority of clinical trials are happening. This is a little bit outdated 2018 slide, but the positions might have changed here and there, but the companies remain same, top 10 companies. Like Bayer is there, Sanofi, Bristol Myers Squibb, Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer. These are well-known companies. So these are the companies in oncology, like Roche is the player, Novartis, Celgene, Johnson and Johnson, BMS is there, Pfizer, Merck, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly. These all are top companies who are players in oncology drugs. So these are diabetics. You all know Novo Nordisk, who is popular with insulin production and insulin pens. Lilly, Sanofi, Merck, like this. These are top 10 medical devices companies. If you want to go into medical devices research or like that. So let us see what are the competencies you need to develop to excel in clinical research. Okay. So there are 8 things. So you need to learn more about scientific concepts and research design. Like you need to know basics of research methodologies, how a sample size is calculated, how a protocol is designed, what are elements which are needed to design it. That's called research methodologies, basic research design. You need to know about it. You need to know ethical and principal safety considerations, what are the rules and regulations, what ICH GCP guidelines tell about patient safety, etc. Investigator product development and regulations. As a PharmD, you have analysis subjects, or as a pharmacist, you have analysis. You know about chemical composition, how it's made, etc. So you need to know about it, and you need to know clinical study operations. What are done on day-to-day basis? Whom should you contact? How you should coordinate, like that. Study site and management. I've told you a little bit about what happens at study site. That, and you need to know about what is the good data practices, how you should enter data, like that. And important thing is you should show leadership qualities, and you should be proactive, and you should have good communication and teamwork. In student life, you might be competitive, you might want to excel from others, but in an organization or in clinical trials, teamwork matters, because if drug does not come on time, patient dosage misses. So you need to have excellent communication, you need to have teamwork, you need to coordinate many things there, so that everything happens on time. So time is everything in clinical trials. If you are poor at time management, please don't come into clinical research or clinical trials, because as you have seen in essay reporting, as essay happens, serious adverse event happens, you have to report it within 24 hours. That means you have to manage your time very well. That means if patients should be given dosed or should be given treatment on particular day, should be given treatment on particular day. There are no excuses like that. So time is major thing in clinical trials. So any field, it might be clinical trial, it might be anything. So there are 3 important things you need to gather. One is knowledge, one is experience, what to do, one is wisdom, what not to do. So knowledge you can gather from clinical trials, rules and regulations, ICH GCP guidelines, biomedical, different guidelines, you can gather knowledge. But experience and wisdom you need to gather from people around you who are working in that area. What you should not do, what you should do to excel in that career. Okay. So what I suggest is go to Clinical Trial Registry of India, like this. Where is it? So this is CTRA. So this is Clinical Trial Registry of India. You can see, right? So we all know that Ramdev Baba has developed a medicine, right, for COVID-19. Coronil.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let us search what Ramdev Baba has actually done. Okay. So I have searched keyword called Patanjali. You can search for trials which are happening around you. Okay, like this. You can search in your state, and you can search. So these are all trials done by Patanjali. Amazing, right? So many trials they have done. Okay. So let's search for Corona trial, what they have done. Coronavirus. See, this is the trial. Are you able to see? So it is done by
Yes,
National
sir.
Institute of Medical Sciences. Just open and view it. So these are all the details. Who is the doctor who has done this trial? Okay. what is this delegation. Like that, you can find out what are the clinical trials which are being done around you, around hospitals around you. You can go to that department, you can meet people and ask them what it requires to be in a clinical research profession, what they are doing in day-to-day activities. So you can ask them, I am a student, can you tell me what are the requirements, what should I learn? Like that, you can interact with people and learn many things, and they will also tell you what not to do. That's very important, right? It's not present anywhere in Google. It comes only from personal experience, right? And also you can read the protocol. See, some ashwagandha 50 to 80 years, asymptomatic patients and mildly symptomatic patients they have done research on. And what is the treatment? So this is the treatment. Ashwagandha, giloy, tulsi, anutila, and swasariras. And this is the protocol, like 16 minutes before breakfast or 30 minutes before breakfast. So what they are going to monitor is they are going to do clinical corona screening at 3rd day, 7th day, and 14th day, and they are monitoring for reduction in CRP protein, ESR, IH6. Okay, this is the protocol. Got it? Like this, you can search clinical trial registry around your house or around in your city where it's happening, and you can meet people and find out more about it. Okay, so thank you guys.
Okay, any feedback? I want to take feedback. Okay, so you have listened to so much, right? So if one or two of you can share what you felt, that will be a motivation for Pratik and us.
Hi, sir. This is Bhargavi. That the session was very clear and very interesting, sir. Uh, to be frank, it was very clear about clinical research, and we got to know an overview, not only overview, we got to know clearly what is the clinical research meant to be. Thank you, sir, for that. Yeah, it has helped us a lot to learn, and I think this gonna help me in my 5th year clinical research subject also to learn what we need to do. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so Akila, I think you can talk now.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, I have a lot of confusion in what career option I should choose. At one time, I used to be like I should be clinical pharmacist. At the other time, I think that I should be like clinical research associate. So it's like confusion for me. I just don't know what really the work is there for families. So now with these sessions, I clearly understood what we can do and what the work actually there will be. And these sessions helped me a lot to decide further what my career should be. Thank you so
Okay, so
much,
that
sir.
is the goal. Yeah, so just make you aware of all the different areas where we can go. Then once you listen to all of them, you can figure out which
Yes, sir.
is close to you or which you really want to do.
And also
Okay, so
one thing,
ideally,
sir, what you said that many organizations are asking for lots of money. I'm also at one time I used to think of that, and I contacted them also. After listening to your and some of the people's, I just quitted from that. So I saved myself now.
yeah, and that is why people hate us and spread all stupidity about us. Few people, not everybody. Okay, so but anyways, we don't have to worry. If not one institute, some other such institute will come up. Okay,
Yeah,
so
thank you,
we
sir.
should become sensible. We should not blame them for our foolishness. Okay,
Yes, yes.
okay, Mehan and Zoom, do you want to speak or?
Yes, sir. Just like Akhila said, even I was feeling and experiencing the same thing. I was also confused with my career, and mainly when it comes to clinical trials, it shows so many options, and we don't know which one to opt first and where to start our career. So this session gave me a great insight on this. So thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, Pratik sir, and thank you, Karthik.
Hello.
Yeah, Vignesh.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. And about today's session, it was really amazing, and it gave a lot of insight to me regarding clinical research area. And then I would like to thank you for organizing such a wonderful session, sir. And Pratik, sir, I have a question for you.
Yeah, Vignesh, please.
Yes, sir. Can you please share your interview experience? What are the questions can we expect during our interview, and what the organization will expect from us? So just so that we can just get prepared for that. No.
See, it goes like this. So I will tell you 10 questions which my interviewer asked, but your interviewer might not ask any one question from that. Okay. So the thing is, you should read clinical trials rules and regulations 2019 word to word. I said GCP guidelines word to word. Okay.
Okay.
And another thing is, it's not about knowledge which interviewer is looking in you. It's also the attitude he is looking in you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So he should feel that you are going to work with him fine. You will not cause any problem and you will work under him properly. So if you go with that attitude, it would be a good interview. Depending, provided you have sufficient knowledge. So you should have that knowledge, you should have that attitude to work for it. So then it would be a good interview. That's all.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Rakam sir, and thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
So Vignesh, actually introduce yourself. I have a lot of Vigneshes in my list.
Sir,
Yeah,
I am Vignesh, formed intern from PSG College of Coimbatore. I think
okay.
we have met
Yeah,
already last year. Yeah.
I was there. I came to PSG also once. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So ideally, I
Even
would have appeared for a proper workshop. Actually, we were planning, but maybe because
yes,
of
yes,
COVID,
yes.
we
Yeah, I
pushed.
couldn't.
But
Okay,
generally, I
sir.
will
Let
come.
us hope for in this future ventures.
And any questions?
Sir, I have a question. Good evening, sir. This is Teja.
Hayati.
Sir, actually, I think you are aware of this COVID-19 vaccine process. Because of a pandemic, because of this emergency situation, the clinical trial regulatory authorities in the world and India, they are going for a fast-track approval process.
Okay.
And how good is this fast-track approval process, sir? Is it advisable? Means, will the end results will be good?
No, fast track is nothing but you are doing two phases or two things at a time. That's all. For example, you will be doing animal studies as well as human studies at a time. Still, that fast track is not fast enough. For example, if it requires a drug to come, vaccine to take 3 years, fast track might cut down 1 year, but it will not give your results in 6 months. It will not happen. If you want to see, you see that in this year there is no way that COVID-19 vaccine is going to come in India. Okay.
Sir, will the validity be accurate? Means the validity of the data means the what we say the accuracy of the data.
It will be accurate because if they are doing in short term, they will take larger numbers.
Okay,
It
sir.
would
And
be
one more thing, sir. Actually, if we consider the oncology for biological products, they'll be going for the biosimilars. Is there any separate clinical trials for biosimilars, sir?
nothing
Is
like
it
that.
really required preclinical and clinical trials for biosimilars?
No, there's nothing separate thing for anything. The rules and regulations are same. You can do clinical trials for anything in the same manner. Okay, but for
What I mean to ask is for biological product, it's a new product, sir. The biosimilar is it's a copy of a biological product. So does it require the clinical trials?
yes, it absolutely requires clinical trials. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else is having any doubts?
Sir, I'm Soumya from Ramakrishna College of Pharmacy, Coimbatore.
Yeah.
So, sir, when I went through the net, when like many of the companies, what they have posted is that to become a clinical research associate, they require at least 2 years or more than 2 years of experience as a clinical research coordinator. So, is it true, sir, or directly there are people who are hiring us for research associate post?
See, the general thing which you're saying is true, but there are exceptions there. It depends on person to person. So I have seen many people who have directly joined as CRS, that too in nice companies. So it all depends on your academic background, also your competency, your communication skill, your teamwork, your leadership quality, how you present in that interview, your knowledge, all that matters. If they find that you are a candidate worth investing time in, for example, you are a fresher, but if they are going to take you as a CRA, they need to invest particular time in you, right? time and resources. So
Yes,
if you feel that you are a candidate who is worth investing their time and resources, they are definitely going to take you. Okay, but general trendings, yes, you need at least 1 year of experience. But is it applies to everyone? No, there are exceptions.
thank you, sir.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here.